Hey guys, I hope that you're having a great week. I just wanted to check in with you for our next devotional from Second Peter chapter 1 verses 5 through 8. We've been talking about the pieces, really the building blocks of our lives that prove our faith, our relationship in Jesus Christ. This week, we talk about the next one in that progression, which is steadfastness. Now, we don't use that word a lot, and some of us may be wondering, what is steadfastness? What does that mean? Well, steadfastness carries with it the idea of holding out or holding on to something, bearing up in the face of difficulty. So when difficult circumstances come into our lives, we hold on to what we know is true. We are steadfast in what we believe and in how we act and how we live. And all of that takes place in a world where we have to admit there's a lot of difficulty. There are frustrations, there are things that make us angry or sad, things that upset us or make us feel like we're distanced from people. And so, in all those situations, Peter tells us that one of the things that will characterize a true Christian is that, in spite of those hard things in our lives, we're going to hold fast to what we believe. We're going to hold fast to living God's way, even when it's not comfortable. Colossians 1:23 tells us that steadfastness is a characteristic of true faith. We know that we're really a Christian, that we really have a relationship with God when we're not shifted away from the hope of the gospel. That's the language that Paul uses there. Our circumstances don't push us away, don't shift us away from our hope in the gospel. Now, this doesn't mean we're never going to sin. All of us sin. We make choices where we love ourselves more than we love God and more than we love others. But what it does mean is that we're not going to spiral into a situation where we completely lose faith, lose hope, and lose our connection to Christ. That does not happen in the life of a saved person. There's no such thing as someone who had a relationship with God and then walks away from a relationship with God. For someone that completely abandons their faith, they never had a relationship with God to begin with. That's the meaning of steadfastness. And so you may be asking yourself, well, how do I know if I have steadfastness in my life? And I was reading a lot about this over the last couple of weeks, and I found a quote that I thought was really helpful. The author said, steadfastness is the result of a Christian standing firm in the face of difficulty, with the result of growing closer to God and being more like Christ. So, how can I know if I'm steadfast? Well, I can look at the way that I respond to difficulty. How do I react when things get hard? Let's say with my family, when I don't get what I want, or when something happens that seems unfair or really bad or scary. Where do I run to? What's my first response? What's my first place where I feel safe? Is it in my relationship with Christ? When I'm confronted with something difficult, do I run to what I know of God and what He wants me to do? Or do I lash out and try to hurt others? Do I run scared and try to just hide from the problem? When something bad happens in my life, do I search for contentment and for comfort in places other than God? Or am I steadfast, knowing that even when difficult things come into my life, God is still the same yesterday, today, and forever. His expectations for me are the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so when these difficult things come into my life, I just do the next right thing. That's how I know if I have steadfastness. And what's interesting is, notice at the very end of the quote, the author said, this results in me growing closer to God and being more like Christ. Steadfastness drives me to be more like Jesus Christ. Romans chapter 5, verses 1 through 5. I am going to become more like Jesus when I am able to respond in a godly way, even when things get hard. So here's our homework for this week. I want you to text two of your friends, whoever they may be is fine, and I want you to ask them, what am I like when things get hard, when things get bad, when things get difficult? How do I respond? And ask them to be honest. Ask them to shoot straight with you about what you're like when things get difficult. And as they answer, it'd be good for each one of us to evaluate the feedback that we get and say, am I the kind of person that is godly when things get difficult? Am I steadfast in my relationship with Christ, my knowledge of Christ, and how I obey Christ? Or is there some areas where I really need to work on? And then I want you to speak with your parents and ask them the same question. Ask them to be honest with you. They will be, about ways that you can work on this and change and grow. Guys, we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to do it all right. But we want to be Christians that are steadfast, holding firmly to what we know is true and living out what we know is true. I hope that you guys have a great week. I hope that you're safe and healthy. And if we can minister to you or help you in any way, please let us know. We're praying for you and look forward to seeing you on Sunday.